Hello everybody. If you want all the story's content in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 840, The Unseen Auction. Advanced. Eleanor Vance had not spoken to her brother in 16 years. The silence began over a painted ceramic bowl, a thing no larger than a cupped hand, which their mother had left to both of them in her will. Arthur sold it without telling Eleanor. She found out from a dealer in Brighton. That was the wound, not the object itself, but the carelessness. So when the letter arrived, typed on heavy cream paper with no return address, Eleanor almost threw it away. It read, "The estate of Arthur Vance invites you to a sealed bid auction of his remaining personal effects. One lot only. Viewing at 10 a.m. on Saturday, St Michael's Hall, Latchford." No mention of why Arthur had died. No mention of why Eleanor should care. But curiosity is a stubborn weed, and she drove the 2 hours south on a grey October morning. St Michael's Hall was a plain brick building with a leaking gutter. Inside, a single trestle table held a small wooden box, dark oak with a brass hinge that had turned green. A grey-haired woman in spectacles sat on a folding chair. "Sign the book," she said, pushing a ledger forward. "Then you may inspect the lot." Eleanor picked up the box. It was lighter than she expected. The hinge opened with a dry creak. Inside, on a bed of faded velvet, lay a key, brass, old-fashioned, with a circular bow and a simple bit. No label, no note. "The key to what?" Eleanor asked. The woman shrugged. "The lot is as you see it. Bids close at 4 p.m. Sealed envelopes only." Eleanor replaced the lid and looked around. No other bidders had arrived. Who is handling the estate? "Name is on the ledger." She turned back a page. The executor was listed as Mr. I. Croft, of Croft Associates, Solicitors, Latchford. Eleanor copied the address. At a small cafe across the street, she ate a sandwich she did not taste. The key meant nothing. Arthur had lived a cluttered life. Old tools, fishing rods, broken clocks, mismatched china. He might have kept a locked drawer or a cabinet. But why auction a single key? Why not throw it away? She went to the solicitors. The office was a single room above a bakery, smelling of bread and old paper. I. Croft turned out to be a young woman with sharp eyes and a silver nose ring. "The bid is blind," Croft said. "I cannot tell you what the key opens. That is the point of the auction. Mr. Vance was very explicit in his instructions." "He wanted me to guess." "He wanted you to decide what it was worth to find out." Eleanor felt the old anger rise, then fall. Arthur was dead. The game was over. But the key sat in her coat pocket, a small weight. She returned to the hall at 3:50. The woman with spectacles was dozing. Eleanor wrote a figure on a slip of paper, far too much for a key to nothing, and sealed it in the envelope provided. At 4 o'clock, the woman opened the only other envelope. It contained a higher bid from a name Eleanor did not recognize. She had lost. "Who was the other bidder?" Eleanor asked. "I am not permitted to say." Eleanor drove home in the dark, telling herself she felt relief. The next morning, she received a padded envelope by courier. Inside was the wooden box, the key still in its velvet bed, and a handwritten note. "Eleanor, the other bidder was me. I have always paid my debts. The key opens the safe deposit box at Lloyd's Bank, Brighton, number 47. Your mother left you more than a bowl. I lied about selling it. I kept the rest for you. I was a coward. Forgive me, Arthur." The letter was dated 3 weeks before his death. Eleanor sat at her kitchen table for a long time. Then she drove to Brighton. The safe deposit box contained a leather pouch. Inside were 5 uncut diamonds, a photograph of their mother laughing on a pier, and a small folded paper that read, "For Eleanor, who loved me anyway." She never learned how Arthur died, and she never tried to find out. She kept the key on a chain around her neck, and she wore it for the rest of her days, not as a puzzle, but as a door that had finally, silently, been opened. If you learned a new word today, please make sure to subscribe so you can practice again next time. Vocabulary notes. Sealed bid. Definition. As used in the story, a type of auction where all bids are submitted in closed envelopes and opened at the same time, so no bidder knows the other's offers. Example: the estate of Arthur Vance invites you to a sealed bid auction of his remaining personal effects. Similar words: closed tender, confidential offer, blind auction, private bidding. Additional example: the government sold the land through a sealed bid process to ensure fairness. Effects. Definition. As used in the story, a formal term for someone's personal belongings or possessions, especially after death. Example: the estate of Arthur Vance invites you to a sealed bid auction of his remaining personal effects. Similar words: belongings, possessions, chattels, goods, property. Additional example: after her uncle passed away, she travelled to London to collect his personal effects. Bow, in the context of a key. Definition: the rounded decorative top part of an old-fashioned key, which you hold between your fingers. It is often circular or ornate. Example: inside, on a bed of faded velvet, lay a key, brass, old-fashioned with a circular bow and a simple bit. Similar words: handle, head, loop, grip. Additional example: the bow of the church key was engraved with the family crest. Explicit. Definition: stated clearly and in detail, leaving no room for confusion or doubt. Example: Mr. Vance was explicit in his instructions. Similar words: unambiguous, direct, specific, clear-cut, express. Additional example: the contract contained explicit terms about the delivery date and penalty for delay. Coward. Definition: someone who lacks the courage to face danger, difficulty, or a difficult emotional situation. In the story, Arthur calls himself a coward for not telling his sister the truth while he was alive. Example: I lied about selling it. I kept the rest for you. I was a coward. Forgive me. Similar words: faint-hearted person, craven, weakling, deserter, stronger, poltron, archaic. Additional example: it was not cowardice that kept her silent, but deep exhaustion with the argument. Story written by DeepSeek. Image created by onemin.ai. To read, see all the story's content in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. CC Music, drifting at 432 Hz, Unicorn Heads.